tell you something. Let me tell you.
Got a green screen. Also, I watched 31 movies in the last 31 days. Talk about it. So, a couple of things of note before I really get started. I am not a movie critic. I'm not a movie reviewer. I mostly play video games and talk like an idiot for 20 minutes, and that's the extent of my YouTube content. So, I don't expect anything too crazy. I'm just going to kind of talk about what I thought about the movies real quick and maybe an interesting fun fact or two, but I'm not really going to get super in depth or anything. And number two, these are my opinion. Of course, you always have to say this. These are my opinions of these movies. If you don't agree, feel free to let me know down below, but this is just my opinion. All right, let's get started with the movies. Movie number one is No One Will Save You. This kind of started my journey of watching a movie every day. It's a new film on Hulu. It's an alien invasion flick that has zero dialogue. I did not know that going in until about 10 or 15 minutes in, where I was like, they've had all these opportunities to talk, but no one's talking. And I was like, I don't think there's going to be a dialogue. So there's zero dialogue in this movie. The only dialogue is when the aliens talk for a few seconds, and you can't, I mean, it's alien speak, so, there's technically no dialogue in this movie. But it kind of got me started on this journey of watching a movie every day, so that's what I'm going to do. Movie number two, Silence of the Lambs, a movie with someone my age probably should have seen by now, but I never have. There's a lot of those movies on this list. I actually used this list to watch a bunch of movies I should have seen / wanted to see over the years. Silence of the Lambs was the first one that I watched. It's very good. Obviously, it deserves its place up on these high lists of like best horror movies or best movies of all time. It's very good. I did not know that Jodie Foster's character was from West Virginia and she had this very strong Appalachian accent, but it threw me off for a second. But it didn't detract from the fact that this movie is very creepy, very weird. I also didn't realize that the majority of the movie was about Hannibal Lecter and Clarice getting to know each other to help solve this case. It was more of a relationship movie between those two, like getting to know each other, which was very interesting. But I thought it was a good movie, and I hate I'd waited until I was 36 to watch it. Next movie. Number three is Mulholland Drive, a David Lynch film. I love David Lynch. He's one of my favorite creators, and Twin Peaks is one of my favorite shows. And I have always wanted to see this movie. A lot of people use it in reference to like the uncanniness or weirdness that can come from movies, and this is definitely the case with Mulholland Drive. It's very bizarre. It tells the story of Naomi Watts' character, who she says that this is her first like breakout role, was through this movie. It's about a girl who goes to Hollywood to make it big, and it turns out that Hollywood is not all it's cracked up to be. You get this idea of like this great Hollywood life that she lives, but it turns out it may not be as good as you think. It's just a very good movie. It's definitely worth a watch. David Lynch is very bizarre, so I had to like go and watch someone explain it to me once the movie was over, like what's really going on. But once I kind of understood it, it made a lot of sense what the movie was trying to say. So go check it out. It's a great movie, Mulholland Drive. All right, number four. This is the first list on the movie of people that have done some crazy shit since this movie was released. This is The Usual Suspects, starring the degenerate piece of garbage Kevin Spacey. But if you haven't seen this movie, there's a big twist at the end. If you ever watch a Watch Mojo top 10, this movie's kind of on those like best twists of all time. I already knew the twist of this movie, and it was part of the reason why I've never really watched it. So I was like, what's the point if the movie just leads up to this twist at the end? But I actually ended up enjoying it. It's a kind of like a crime movie where they're trying to do a heist or something, and it turns out that things are not what they seem. But it's very good, barring that piece of garbage in the movie. It's a very, very good film. Go check it out. On the fifth day, I watched The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element, starring Bruce Willis and Mia Jovovich. A movie that I've seen bits and pieces of, and I knew kind of the story to it, but I had never seen the full film. I never just sat down and watched it. So I watched the whole thing. It's a great little sci-fi movie. Bruce Willis is great in it. He's great at action. He's great at comedy. And this is not the only Bruce Willis movie on this list. There's a couple of actors that I have a few of their movies on here, but Bruce Willis does great in this. Mia Jovovich is great in it. I did kind of find it lame how at the end they're like, oh, the fifth element is love. Spoiler alert, I guess, for a movie that came out that long ago. The fifth element is love. And I told my friends, like, I can't believe that was the end of it. And then one of my friends sent me that gif of the kid in Captain Planet going heart and like holding up his ring. And he said, it's always been love. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Captain Planet. Love always was the fifth element. So there you go. The fifth element is love. Number 6 was Rushmore, Wes Anderson's second film. It was kind of wanted to take a break from the sci-fi, the extreme thriller, very bizarre movies that I had been watching, and watch something a little more fun, a little more lighthearted. This has Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Owen Wilson is in there at some point, even though he's hard to find. There's all these great actors in this movie, and it's really fun. I feel like it's before Wes Anderson really found his groove and his filmmaking style that makes Wes Anderson Wes Anderson, but it's still very good. It's comedic. Jason Schwartzman falls in love with a teacher, but she's in love with Bill Murray, and it's all the things that happen as a kid when you're in love and the things you have to do, the things you think you want to do to stay in love. It's a delightful movie. It's really good. I love Wes Anderson films. This one's kind of low on my list of Wes Anderson films, but it's still pretty good. Number 7 was The Wrestler. The Wrestler. I don't really enjoy like character study movies. It wasn't for me. I understand that it's like a critically acclaimed movie and people loved it, and it does tell a good story, but it's a little slow for my taste. I didn't really enjoy it. It was fine. The best part of it is you get to see Marissa Tomei in it, and I'm not talking about just seeing Marissa Tomei. You see all of Marissa Tomei in that movie, which she's in a few movies she does that. Whatever. Anyways. It was good. It was fine. It was fine. I didn't really care for it, but The Wrestler. Number 8 was Falling Down, a random movie that I've just seen clips of over the years, and I was like, I want to watch it. It's got Michael Douglas in it, about a man that just kind of loses it on a day. He just loses his mind. He's divorced. He's got a kid that he wants to see, and he just has a day of it. He just goes AWOL. You know those days when you're in traffic and you're like, I wish I could just drive straight in to oncoming traffic and just straight into the traffic and just, mess somebody's day up. That's kind of the way this works. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that way. I don't know. It's like the movie is letting your intrusive thoughts intrude and actually happen. So he goes on a little bit of a crazy adventure with guns, and he even gets a rocket launcher at one point, which I thought was funny. That was the clip I saw that I was like, I think I need to watch this. But it's very intense for what it is, but really good. Michael Douglas is great in it. Really good. Check it out. Falling Down. Also on the 8th day, I got a little bonus with my wife. We watched Elemental, the new Pixar film that apparently was not doing very well in like pre-reviews and stuff. People were like, this is not going to be a very good Pixar movie, which I'm a guy in my mid-30s. Like, I don't really care about Pixar, but I thought it was really good. It's just a little romantic comedy from Pixar. It's a Pixar movie. What can you really say about it other than it's good? It looks good. It's funny. It's cute. It's heartwarming. It's a Pixar movie. Number 9 was Knives Out. Knives Out by Rian Johnson. When he's not ruining the Star Wars universe, he's making pretty decent little murder mystery movies. I really, really enjoyed this one. I love a good murder mystery, and this has a great cast. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis. It's got Ana de Armas, Chris Evans, all these great actors that it made for a really good movie. And I thought I knew the story to it before going in, and then it kind of flips it on. It's not the only movie in this list that flipped my expectations on it, going like, this is how it's going to end, but going, oh, that what I thought was the end of the movie is now in the middle or like towards the beginning. This is not the only movie that does this, but I have to say, Knives Out is a must-watch. It's very fun. Number 10, The Truman Show. The Truman Show, not the first of a few Jim Carrey movies on here. I think there's 2, maybe 3. Jim Carrey movies. The Truman Show. It's another one where I understood the plot. I've seen clips of it over the years, and I just was like, why do I need to watch the movie? I've seen it all. But it's actually very enjoyable. It's a good movie. Jim Carrey's great in it. I haven't seen a lot of Jim Carrey's more serious movies. I like him for his comedy. This, he gets a little bit of both. He gets to be dramatic and comedic. Laura Linney plays his wife in this movie. And my wife and I just finished watching Ozark not that long ago. And I gotta say, Laura Linney is a great bitch. She plays a great bitch in her roles. In this movie, in Ozark, and everything I see, she's just being a bitch. But anyways, The Truman Show, it's a great film. I mean, it's kind of like what we do today. In the movie, it takes like millions of dollars and like this huge crew to follow one person through their life. But nowadays, with an internet connection, any idiot can Truman Show themselves. So take that for what it's worth. Number 11 is Heat. Heat, one of those movies that my friends were like, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. It is a great movie. It's a great crime thriller. It's got a ton of great actors in it. It's got that vibe of like, I kept going like, oh, I know that person. I know that person. Kind of like that DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's like, whistling and like pointing at the screen. It's got Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer. It's even got little Natalie Portman in it. which I did not expect. But it's just like every scene, it's got Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad in it, Gus from Breaking Bad. So it's got all these people in it, and you're just like, hey, I know that person. That's the entire movie, but it's really good. There were a couple of points where I was like, I don't really get it, like the love interest with Robert De Niro. It wasn't really necessary, but that's just my opinion. They did do kind of like a relationship piece, like different parts of a relationship, like Al Pacino being married for so long that his wife's cheating on him. Val Kilmer kind of like in the mud of like his job and with his wife, and then Robert De Niro finding new love, which is weird because every time I think about Robert De Niro now, I just think about him being old, which he is. He's old now. Anyways, Heat, incredible movie. Go watch it. Number 12, another movie where you're going to go, why have you not seen this movie before? Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, a Tarantino film that I have not seen. Seen plenty of Tarantino films, but I have not seen this one. It is very good. I have to say, though, and this is one of those opinions that might piss people off, I don't see it being this, like, highly regarded. Like, it's a good movie. It's very well written, acted, directed, all that stuff. But I know it's, like, in the top 10 of, like, IMDb's top 250 movies. I don't know if I agree with that. It has some moments where, like, yes, it tells these stories that intertwine towards the end, but I feel like the breaking up between those stories is so jarring that it's a little, like, just kind of kills the pace for me. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But you also kind of see why Tarantino likes feet. Something that probably people didn't really understand about him when this movie came out. You know, he's filming Uma Thurman's feet in this movie, and you're like, that's a weird shot. Does Uma Thurman have to walk around with no shoes on? And then you see most of his other movies, and you go, oh, okay, it's a him thing. Anyways, Pulp Fiction's good. I enjoyed it. Number 13 is Snatch, a movie starring Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, a bunch of good people. It's similar to Pulp Fiction. It's telling different stories that all kind of overlap, whatever, that kind of work their way towards the end to kind of come together. I think it's a really good movie. It is very hard to understand. I had to spend a lot of time just listening as hard as I could because I just couldn't understand what they were saying towards the beginning. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to listen. But it's just a great dudes movie. It's made by Guy Ritchie, so of course it's just a dudes movie. I mean, it's so much a dudes movie that there's like 5 women in this entire movie, I think. The majority of the actors in this movie on camera are men. That's just the way it is. But it's a very fun, just gritty, like fighting, punching dudes movie that I really enjoyed. I thought it was good. I owned it on DVD many years back, and I just never watched it. But it's really good. Number 14 is The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, another Jim Carrey, a little more serious movie. This is another one where I knew what the plot was, but I have never seen the movie. I thought it was actually very good. It's another one of those movies where you just see all these people that you know. It's got Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, Kirsten Dunst, Elijah Wood, Mark Ruffalo, like all these young actors that maybe people didn't know about at that time. Like Mark Ruffalo looks like the lead singer of Motion City Soundtrack in that movie. I thought that's who it was at first. I was like, what the hell? But it's Mark Ruffalo. Anyways, it's a good movie. It's it's cute. It's also sad, but it's also very trippy, which I didn't realize when he's going through being asleep and then erasing his memory. It's like very trippy, which I thought was really cool. It's good. I enjoyed it. Number 15, Across the Spider-Verse. I've seen Into the Spider-Verse. I had not seen Across the Spider-Verse. The most disappointing thing about this movie is that I did not know it was a two-parter, so when it ended with a to be continued, I thought it was a joke, but it was not. It's a two-parter. I did not know that. Granted, even though it's a two-parter, the first part is very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I mean, you can't go wrong with those movies. Into the Spider-Verse was just so good. That high hopes for the second one, so this one did not fail in those expectations. I thought it was really enjoyable, but I'm sure I'm talking to a bunch of people that already know that. All right, we hit the halfway point. We're on day 16, and with day 16, I thought I'd ruin the flow a little bit by watching a terrible horror movie called The Slaughterhouse. That's right, The Slaughterhouse. Let me explain to you the plot, though I'm sure you can already gather what it means. A girl in a sorority finds a new pet in a sloth that is actually a killer sloth, that if it doesn't get its medicine, it goes on a killing spree, and boy, does it in the worst way possible. The kills are all in a montage, the kills they show are not very good, and overall, it's a terribly acted, terrible, terrible movie. You know, people make these movies nowadays because of movies like The Room or Birdemic, where people genuinely thought they were making a good movie, and it turned out to just be schlock. But now people just go, let's just create a bad movie for the sake of it being a bad movie. And that's not good. It just doesn't make any sense. So this movie sucks. Don't go see it. Don't watch it on Hulu. It's terrible. It's awful. Not the last bad movie I'll watch on this list, but the first. Halfway through. Number 17 was The Last House on the Left, the 2000s version. This one, it's good. I had heard about it. It's a remake, I guess it's a remake of a movie from the 70s, and they really take it a lot farther in this one. I would think that in the 70s it'd be a lot more explicit, but boy, this one shows some stuff. It is a revenge film, and it's really good though. Like, it's good. Just justice being served without, the authorities. Like, just a family just taking it out on these people for what they did. It's very enjoyable. It's very intense, but very funny. The end is great. I'll just say this. I love a good head explosion. The movie delivers on that. Also, Jesse Pinkman's in this movie. Aaron Paul is in this movie, which I did not know that, and he's really great in it. Number 18 is Gone Girl, starring Ben Affleck. Another one of those movies where my expectations were, the crazy thing that happens in this movie is going to happen at the end. Nope, it happens within the first, 45 minutes of the movie, and then there's another, hour and a half of this movie. So you kind of find out the twist. If, spoiler alert, before I say it, his wife does not get kidnapped. She kidnaps herself in an effort to, I think, kill her ex-lovers, I guess. To free herself, and it's just she's crazy. She's crazy. And Ben Affleck's kind of stuck with her, which is wild. But it's a very good movie, very entertaining, and well worth the watch. Number 19, a movie that I told my friends for the longest time that I had seen, but I'd only see bits and pieces of it. That is Tropic Thunder, the comedy from the mid-2000s. That is just what the mid-2000s, late 2000s was all about when it came to comedy movies. Just absurdity and just ridiculousness. It's like your Superbads or your Borats, but more well done, I think. It's got a great cast, obviously. It's got Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr. It's got Jay Baruchel, who's in How to Train Your Dragons, if you're wondering who that is. He was also in a bunch of other comedy movies like Out of Your League, which I think is a great comedy. Anyways, it's also got Jack Black. Jack Black has my favorite scene where he's coming down off his heroin addiction, and they have him tied to a tree, and he's like, I'm good, I promise, I'm good. It's just so funny. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Tropic Thunder. It's one of those movies that, back then it was you had to see those movies because all your humor was just quoting movies like that with your friends, and I just faked it until now. But now I've seen it. It's great. If you haven't seen it, it's a little dated, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Comedy these days, people probably wouldn't find it as funny. But as someone who grew up in that time, it's pretty funny. Number 20 is The Empty Man, another movie I found on Hulu. It is not good. It hits that. This is the one movie I think in this list where it's just that Hollywood horror movie. It's just, they're all just kind of the same. There's an entity, you can't see it, but you can see it, and it's coming for you, and you only have so much time. And it does do this cool thing with there's a cult tied to it. There's some pretty cool scenes with that where the guy is looking at the cult. They're out in the middle of some field, and as he's moving, he takes a step back, they take a step forward towards him. It's very cool. Stuff like that is very good about this movie, but the overall plot is just not very good. The Empty Man kind of sucks. It's empty of really any good plot or points or anything. Don't watch this either. 21 is Die Hard. Die Hard, another, I just keep racking them up. The number of movies that I should have seen for someone my age. Die Hard is one of them. I can't believe it took me so long to watch this movie. Another one where I know the sayings and what happens. I've seen them in the air vents. I've seen the building blown up. I've seen Alan Rickman fall off the building. All that stuff. I've seen it. But actually watching the movie is a lot of fun. There's a lot of great scenes in it. Like the guy in the elevator, and Bruce Willis writes, "Ho, ho, ho, I have a machine gun." Good stuff like that. It's a very fun action flick, and Bruce Willis is great in it. I think that's the last Bruce Willis movie, but don't hold me to it. 22 is Murder on the Orient Express. It's like Knives Out, but if it was based on a book you had to read in high school, so it's not that great. I had to read this book when I was a kid in high school, and it was fine then. This movie is fine. After watching Knives Out, it's kind of like the lesser of the murder mystery movies I watch because it's just kind of dull. It's fine. It's got a lot of great actors in it, but it's fine. By the time the detective is like, I know who did it and this and that, you're just kind of like, I don't care. The big revelation. And I'm like, I don't care. 23 is Alien. Another movie I should have seen already. I've seen Aliens. I was one of those people that I saw Aliens. I was like, that's cool. And I didn't realize that there was a first one. But I've seen the clips, I've seen the chest burster scene, and I've seen all the crazy stuff happening, but I've never watched the movie all the way through. It's a great sci-fi thriller horror. It's considered one of the best horror movies of all time. Sigourney Weaver is great in it. All the practical effects are very good, and it just works really well for she's alone by the end of it. I don't understand why she saved that cat at the end. Seems like it's not worthwhile, but I guess if you're alone and your last companion is a cat, you take it with you so you're not completely alone. Very good movie. Very good movie. Number 24 is Leprechaun. Leprechaun. It's the first Leprechaun movie. I've seen other Leprechaun movies. I've seen him go to Vegas, to space. I've seen him go to the Hood twice. He goes to the Hood, but I've never seen the original Leprechaun, so I went ahead and watched it. I did not realize that Jennifer Aniston was in this movie or that it was like her first real role. She's great in it. She plays a bratty little uppy girl, which works real well for her. The Leprechaun is very funny. I feel like they kind of lose that he has to make quippy one-liners every time in the later movies, but in this original one, I think it's very good. And then the kid at the end gets a very good one-liner about Lucky Charms. It's really good. I enjoyed it. As it was getting towards the end of October, you can start to tell that I'm watching a lot more horror movies, and that is the case with day 25, where I watched Haunt. Haunt, it's a spooky horror house movie, haunted house movie, where some kids go into a haunted house that's supposed to be extreme, but it's actually very extreme. Very extreme. It's very good, though. I mean, it's a typical, like, teen horror movie in the fact that, like, it hits those same beats, but there's some great moments. The bad guys that are all wearing masks, at one point they take them off. They're all these like demon looking people, which was I didn't expect, which was really cool. It just plays out very well. The scariest thing about haunted houses is I know someone that owns a haunted house like farm thing. It's one of the biggest ones in our state. And the scariest thing about that is how much money he makes. He drives a Lamborghini. It's insane. And he lives in a mansion. I should start a haunted house. Number 26 is Megan. I watched this on Amazon Prime. I remember hearing a lot of good things about this movie. I remember only seeing one promotional clip, and it was the robot like dancing or twerking or what. It was stupid. And I was like, this movie looks dumb. But I actually went and watched it. It's actually a very good horror movie. It's very tense without being too tense, and it's silly without being too silly. There's some great kills in it, though they are very few. But it's really great. And then the robot girl towards the end just goes haywire. It's very, very enjoyable. Go check that one out. I'm surprised I liked it as much as I did. It's very good. All right, this is the one I didn't want to talk about. But day 27, movie number 27, Avatar. Avatar. I have never seen Avatar. I know that is crazy. People are going to be like shocked. There are people fainting in the aisles. I've never seen Avatar. I actually rode the Avatar ride at Disney World before I saw Avatar. I haven't seen the second Avatar, obviously, but I've never seen the first one. It was one of those that I think when it came out, I was too busy smoking the devil's lettuce with my friends to care. But I watched it. It's good. I watched the director's cut or like the Expanse. It was 3 hours long. I didn't feel like it needed to be 3 hours long, but it's a good movie. I can see why it was such a big deal. And I think 2009 when it came out, like digitally, what's the word I'm looking for? Visually, it's a very beautiful movie. Granted, now even looking at it on a high resolution monitor and like a very high grade version of the movie, it still has its moments where you're kind of like, it looks a little dated. But I can understand why back then it was like this visual masterpiece, this, revolution in technology. It was cool. And like the world is cool. The characters are cool. I get it. It's not my favorite movie I watched on this list, but I can understand why it was as big as it is. Let's hope that James Cameron maybe doesn't wait 14 years to release the next one. Day 28, I watched
Five Nights at Freddy's. That's where I want to be. Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's right. I watched Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, let me just say this. I've never played a Five Nights at Freddy's game. I've only gotten through to Five Nights at Freddy's via like lore videos, like, game theory and watching Markiplier play it. But it was surprisingly not that bad. I know some people are like, oh, it's just a cash grab, or it's like, not that great. I enjoyed it for what it was. And there's actually, for a PG-13 movie, there's some pretty crazy stuff in there. Like, someone gets eaten in half, which I thought was why I saw that. And I was like, this is PG-13? They didn't use their F word, though. Do you get an F word in PG-13? I thought you get at least one F word in PG-13 movies. Probably not going to use it in Five Nights at Freddy's. But for what it is, it's a halfway decent, scary movie. It was ridiculous at points. It kind of falls apart at the ending because they're trying to shove however many games there are in Five Nights at Freddy's. They're trying to shove them all into one movie, I think. And it just kind of feels bloated in parts because they're shoving all this stuff in there. But overall, it's all right. Coming down to the end here, 29 is Talk to Me, a movie that I was very excited about. I'm just in the horror genre at this point. Towards the end, it's getting close to Halloween. Talk to Me is an incredible horror movie, and I think I don't want to spoil anything. Just go watch the movie. It's very good. It's what I like about horror movies. It's not just spooky, scary guy coming after you, entity that we talk about, but you can't see, that kind of thing. It's just straight to the point. It does a great job of using like social media and like kind of relating to how things kind of go now, making horror make sense in the world we live in now. I think it's very good. Go watch it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Just go watch it. All right, 2 movies left. It is the day before Halloween, and I am going to watch another terrible, terrible horror movie. And then on Halloween, I'm going to watch one of the greatest horror movies of all time. So on October 30th, day 30, movie 30, I watched Grim Cuddy. It is a terrible, terrible horror movie. It's not the worst, but it's not great either. It's literally like the things I've talked about not liking about horror. That's what this movie is. It's about, some social media trend, about some spooky demon thing that if you watch it, it makes you want to cut yourself or kill people or whatever. And it gets the parents all paranoid. And then apparently the parents' paranoia gets the creature to be stronger and like show up. So it's not about the kids being on social media and being on their phones all the time. It's about parents being worried too much. The creature looks fucking ridiculous. It's so stupid looking. It's like, those costumes you see videos online sometimes of like these creatures that people make with like big arms and stuff. That's what it is. And it's so bad. But yeah, it is what it is. I give it a 2 out of 10. I'm giving grading scales now. We have reached the end. So I started this movie marathon with an alien invasion movie. So I decided to end it with an alien invasion movie. And with that, I'm doing the greatest alien invasion movie of all time, considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1970s version, with Donald Sutherland. You see this on all the time. It's like top twists, top scary moments, top horror moments, whatever. This twist at the end and just the movie in general is always hailed as like one of the greatest horror movies. And I would agree. It's dated. It's one of those movies, like, because it was made in the 70s, it's like a lot of like the women trying to talk and the men going, shut up. Like Leonard Nimoy and Donald Sutherland and like Jeff Goldblum's in this movie. They're always just like, the women start like, oh my God, they're not the same people. And they're just like, shut up, woman. Like, it's so weird. But the plot, the overall invasion from the aliens is very cool. It's very creepy. The practical effects are very good. And the twist at the end, I won't spoil it, but it kind of goes like this. That was 31 movies in 31 days. I know it's not that exciting. I'm sure people watch hundreds of movies within a month, but I watch one every day. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was my first like on-camera, really heavily edited video. So it took a lot of time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've made it to the end here, please do me a favor, like the video, subscribe, do all the crap that helps other people see my video. That would be greatly appreciated. I also have a Discord, which is down in the description. There's only a few of us, but I love talking to people, so come hang out there. If this video does well enough, I'll make more stuff like this. I love the green screen, so I definitely want to keep using it. Most of my content is gaming videos. That's just kind of what I've been able to do with work and life and everything going on, but I want to start doing more stuff like this. So if you enjoy, do all the things I said before, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.